A previously safe Liberal seat for more than 120 years, the local electorate of Goldstein is set to see a political shake-up. Teal independent Zoe Daniel, a former ABC reporter for 27 years, is appearing as the favourite for this beachside electorate, with house fences all over plastered in teal with support for this independent candidate. Taking a by the people for the people approach, Daniel's campaign began back in October 2020, where a group of Goldstein residents concerned about a lack of action on climate and perceived political integrity formed a committee called the Voices of Goldstein, where Daniel's 3 priority policies were formed: climate, integrity and gender equality.
And very quickly, we started to get a lot of people showing interest. So we conducted things called kitchen table conversations, where you get a bunch of people together, and obviously through COVID it was either when we could be in the same room together or virtually. And we just asked people what was important to them about, Goldstein, Australia, what was happening, what was worrying them, what was on their mind. And so we actually came up with, when we interviewed all these people and spoke to them, these 3 pillars emerged, because there's a lot of people, not just in Goldstein but around the country, who are deeply concerned at the lack of progress we're making, not just climate action as a term, but a renewable economy, a renewable energy economy. If we don't take action on climate through proper means, if we don't actually also have proper, guidelines for integrity, because where people don't trust each other, societies collapse. And then that brings us to the fact that, with equality, when women aren't given equal opportunity, then societies don't flourish.
Jenni Colwill, a lifelong Goldstein resident and founding member of National Association for Women, says Bayside is ready for change.
It's interesting, what's been happening politically here. I think is the change has been coming for some time, the dissatisfaction. I think you need a particular type of person though. You need as an independent, you need an intelligent person who has the energy and the commitment and has a strong values base, and I believe that's what Zoe has.
Absolutely, I think the electorate of Goldstein is ready for a big change.
With an emphasis on gender equality, there has been a considerable surge of support for Daniel in terms of what it could mean for women.
What's really sad is that back in 1984, when Australia actually passed and got the Sex Discrimination Act of 1984 up and running, that was the first time in the world anything like that had actually emerged, and we were actually leaders in terms of women's equality. Whereas in 2021 we have plummeted from, I think it's 12th to 70th when it comes to women's equality and participation in the workforce, and a whole lot of other stats where we're just falling down the scale. So something's not right. And the other thing too is, if you can't have women operating equally in society, then bad things happen.
I've always been strong on gender equality. I actually fought for paid maternity leave in Australia. I have experienced gender inequality in my work and just in life generally. And I love the fact that it's so open now. Nobody's ashamed of fighting for gender equality anymore. I think it would be great to see a woman. So I'm really, really thrilled to have her as an alternative.
I think it would be amazing. Men have been in power long enough, and it's ready for women to come in to take charge and to make some serious necessary changes.
With Goldstein's electorate named after original suffragette and Goldstein independent Vida Goldstein.
Vida Goldstein is actually was one of Australia's preeminent suffragettes. And she came to prominence when she really helped drive the women's movement and helped with getting women the vote in this country. So she's a real change agent, and was an amazing woman. She stood as an independent candidate 5 times at a federal level, and she didn't win, but she stood 5 times. That's how serious she was about politics. And the reason she was an independent, precisely, is that she didn't like the way party politics dampened people's voices and actually stopped them from actually doing what democracy is all about. So nothing would give us greater joy than to have Zoe win the seat of Goldstein, if nothing else in honour of Vida Goldstein.
Yeah, Vida Goldstein was a really remarkable woman.
If Zoe can bring it home, it would be, a nice little tick for Vida Goldstein as well. I'm sure she would love it.
Previously a rusted on Liberal electorate, Goldstein has seen many Liberal voters swaying towards the independents, ready for political change.
But when you talk about traditional Liberal Party voters, the majority that we're speaking to, at least anyway, are deeply ashamed of the current, I suppose, formal phase of the Liberal Party. It's not the Liberal Party that they used to vote for. The Liberal Party ceased being Liberal in the late 80s. And so there's been this dramatic shift to the right, this ideology that a lot of traditional Liberal voters don't recognise. And so many tell us that they didn't leave the Liberal Party left them.
First of all, if I voted for Tim Wilson, I'm voting for Barnaby Joyce. And I really object to Barnaby Joyce and the Nationals' attitudes towards climate and our environment. And Tim Wilson, he lost me when he was appointed to the Human Rights Commission, and basically his agenda was to abolish it, and he's almost succeeded. We now no longer have a Human Rights Commission that has the international respect that we previously had, and that's this government. This is the Liberal government doing that. What happened to people's value? These people who've now taken over the Liberal Party don't represent the values of the Liberal Party, in my opinion.
In an effort to remain politically broad in what Daniel describes as economically conservative and socially progressive, Daniel wants to appease those who have previously voted Liberal for economic reasons.
When it comes to looking at, the economics of it all, she has to weigh it up as to whether it's viable and whether it's actually going to float. It's not just some tokenistic idea. And so, given her forensic way of approaching things, I can't imagine anything, passing her or passing by her that she wouldn't give a good look. There'd be some, she would always be looking at it to see how does it fit, how does it work, how does it serve the community, how does it serve the economy, and work on a more holistic system rather than just doing its and bits and being tokenistic.
With a strong emphasis on climate action, Daniel's campaign strives to achieve a 60% reduction in emissions by 2030, stressing it's entirely possible with the right political backing in place.
Well, there's a lot of good information out there, and we have all the technology available already, and business is ready to do that. We just need the political will and decision and the policies and legislation to be put in place to actually drive that forward. So there's nothing stopping us from meeting 60% target. The economic cases are there, it is very viable, and we have everything we need.
Election Saturday will see voters flock to their polls with Goldstein locations doused in teal for a potentially history-making day for their community. And one can only hope a democracy sausage or two. This is Olivia Moull for DScribe.
If they're not willing to change, then we're willing to change it. It's democracy, mate. This is how democracy works.